In a quiet wheel shop, one careless strike on a spinning rim turned a routine fix into sudden chaos. Inside a small rim repair workshop, a worker stands at a spinning alloy wheel mounted for straightening. The wheel hums quietly, rotating under low speed as he inspects it with a small hammer in hand. A quick tap, maybe to check balance or loosen buildup. But when that hammer lands, the spinning rim catches the motion. The sudden friction pulls it off balance, releasing stored energy in an instant. The wheel slips from the mount and swings outward, showing how even slow rotation can turn stored force into unpredictable motion. Never ever strike or test a moving wheel on a repair mount. Even at low speeds, the energy stored in rotation can turn the workpiece itself into the projectile. Always stop rotation before contact. Observation first, correction second. It took only one slow swing from above to remind everyone how heavy mistakes can be. Inside a steel fabrication bay, long orange girders hang suspended from an overhead crane. Workers in helmets move casually beneath the load, guiding the steel into position. The air is calm, routine, practiced, almost careless. Then, with a subtle shift of balance, the beam swings wide. The crane operator reacts a split second too late. The massive girder arcs like a pendulum, cutting through the staging area and scattering equipment below. A powerful reminder of how gravity enforces its own rules. Never, ever walk or stand beneath a suspended load. Steel doesn't warn before it moves, and once it does, reaction time is never enough. He only wanted to check his repair one last time, but the tire had its own way of ending the shift. In a small roadside garage, a 41-year-old driver crouches by a heavy truck tire he'd just finished repairing. The hiss of an air hose fades, replaced by the soft splash of water as he wets the surface, checking for air leaks. The tire sits there, calm and ordinary, but something inside it isn't right. Its walls are aged, its structure brittle, years past its rated life. He leans closer, tracing the faint hiss of escaping air. Then, in a split second, the sidewall gives way. Compressed force erupts outward, a sharp burst that sends air, dust, and loose tools scattering across the garage. In that moment, the quiet routine of repair turns into a lesson in stored energy. Never ever inflate or test an aged tire without proper restraint. Out-of-date casings can rupture with the power of an explosive, especially under full pressure. Always cage, distance, and inspect before testing. Out on that quiet roadside, a single wrong movement from the truck turned the still air into something alive and violent. A truck idles beside a narrow frozen road lined with bare trees. The crew is handling a delivery, lifting or unloading using the truck's metal arm. The operator adjusts the hydraulic boom, eyes on the load, not on the sky. Above, thin power lines stretch invisibly through the pale air, silent, waiting. As the arm extends upward, its tip drifts too close. Electricity arcs invisibly through the air, leaping to the boom in a burst of light. The truck's frame hums as energy grounds through the system, scattering sparks across the roadside. A vivid reminder of how unseen distance turns into live danger. Electricity doesn't need contact, only proximity. Power lines can arc across meters of air, turning any metal surface into a live, burning hazard in a fraction of a second. Always survey the sky before you lift. What you don't see above can end everything below. It looked like a normal inspection until one small step changed everything. Inside an unfinished building, an elevator shaft yawns open in the center of the floor. The air buzzes faintly with the hum of welding. One man kneeling at work, his visor catching the orange glow. A supervisor stands close in front of him, watching, giving quiet direction as metal hisses and sparks dance between them. Behind the supervisor, there's nothing. No barrier, no warning, just an open drop into darkness. He steps back to give space to the welder. 1, 2, 3 paces, eyes still forward, focused on the work. Then, the steady sound of welding cuts off. The air shifts. A single step finds nothing beneath it. In that instant, the scene reveals how open shafts can vanish into routine until it's too late to notice. An open elevator shaft is a silent hazard, a void disguised as space, waiting for distraction to draw someone too close to its edge. Barriers aren't optional. They're the only line between awareness and the fall. He was standing right where the tension lived, seconds before steel and force turned against itself. Aboard the mooring deck of a cargo vessel, a crew member was tightening the ship's mooring line. The chain, stretched under tremendous load, hummed with pressure that only the experienced could sense. Without warning, the chain gave out. The line snapped free, recoiling across the deck at incredible speed, steel transforming into an arc of raw force. It swept across its path, striking the rails and machinery before the energy faded, leaving the deck silent once more. Always stay clear of snapback zones. Never trust a line under tension. Respect it, give it distance, and keep every crew member aware of its path. He stepped closer to guide the roller compactor, never realizing how fast its silence can close the distance. It was a bright afternoon on a suburban road crew. The team was laying a new asphalt lane, machines rolling in sequence like a practiced rhythm. One worker handled the edge work, guiding the compactor's line. Visibility was clear, but communication was scattered. The roller operator focused ahead, watching the asphalt's alignment with the curb. Behind him, the ground man stepped close to adjust a cone, right in the blind zone of a machine that never truly stops moving. As the roller moved slowly in reverse, a worker remained behind it for just a few seconds. The operator, unaware of his position beyond the frame, continued the pass. With no horn or signal, the steady motion crossed into the unmarked blind zone, a quiet reminder of how awareness can vanish between moving and still ground. Never, ever walk within the blind zone of heavy equipment, even for a moment. If the operator can't see you, you're already too close. One spark, one sealed drum, and in a heartbeat, the workshop turned into a blast zone. Inside a small fabrication shop, a crew of workers gathered around two metal drums, one black, one blue. The space was tight, filled with scattered tools, welding cables, and the faint smell of solvents and paint. On the far side, the welder prepared to cut open the top of the blue drum. The others stood close, curious and aware. The drum's surface looked harmless, just a container. But what no one knew was that it still held traces of flammable vapors trapped inside, invisible and waiting. The torch sparked to life, its flame meeting the drum's sealed surface. In an instant, trapped vapors ignited. Pressure surged through the container, releasing a violent pulse of energy. The drum lifted and rolled across the floor as the shockwave rippled through the workshop. Even an empty drum is never truly empty. Residual vapors inside can ignite with explosive force when exposed to heat, sparks, or open flame. Always treat sealed containers as potential bombs when heat or flame is involved. A simple load-up turned into a runaway the moment the carrier started to roll. It was a sunny afternoon at a heavy equipment yard. A blue rollback truck, its hydraulic bed tilted, sat ready to receive a yellow wheel loader. A worker stood in front, signaling hand gestures as the loader approached. The driver of the loader eased forward, the tires clunking against the metal deck, aligning perfectly down the center. The scene was calm, routine, until it wasn't. The moment the loader climbed fully onto the rollback, the truck began to drift forward. No one had chocked the wheels or checked the brake. The entire platform rolled away under its own weight, crossing the yard and gaining speed toward the open street before coming to rest against the curb. A rollback or carrier becomes a runaway hazard the moment its brakes or chocks are neglected. Gravity needs no warning to take control. Always secure and immobilize any vehicle before loading or unloading. A single misplaced hook turned a simple lift into a moment of chaos on the factory floor. Inside a fabrication workshop, two workers approached a large, upright steel casing, preparing it for a lift. The crane hook swung into position overhead. Routine, quiet, mechanical. One worker guided the hook by hand as the other signaled alignment. As the hook touched the upper edge, the steel casing rocked forward under its own weight. The shift in balance sent a deep clang through the workshop as momentum carried the piece off-center. In that instant, control gave way to motion. A suspended hook carries impact energy even before the lift begins. Contact with unsecured, top-heavy materials can trigger a complete loss of balance. Always stabilize and rig before bringing the hook close. No contact until the load is restrained. In lifting work, it's not the lift that surprises you, it's the moment right before it starts. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.